What's up, Pandas? Peter from Panda here. I just want to show you one of my Breitling watches. I'm going to unbox it here, but this is obviously I've worn it, but I want to show you everything that comes with it. It's got the outer box has a cool airplane motif. It has a registration card, which I haven't filled out. It's got the tag, which I've already taken off the watch. It comes in this kind of nice black lacquer piano finish box, and then inside comes in this the snap closed box with the pillow in there. It has the books and all the paperwork, obviously with the watch in the back, so you can learn how to work your watch. This one is a Superocean. I think it's a Superocean 2. It's called the Abyss. It comes in a couple of different colors, and it comes in a variety of limited editions, but this is a standard edition. I actually purchased this watch while breaking one of my own rules, and that rule is I only get watches 44 millimeters and larger, and this one is a 42. It definitely looks like the smallest watch that I have because it is. So the bezel here is 42 millimeters across, but the reason that my other rules won over is primarily my number one rule is get watches that you like, and I really kind of dug the inner yellow bezel. It was just added some color, particularly in divers watches. They tend to be kind of blue, gray, black, silver. They kind of tend to blend away in many ways into kind of the watch world and not look very unique. And this one had a little color pop to it, kind of like my TCM watch. TCM, which has that blue bezel as opposed to the red one. I got that. You know, I'm not a yellow Lamborghini type of guy, but I can understand why people like yellow. A couple things about this watch is obviously diver style, and it definitely has the chops to be a diver's watch, to actually be the watch you wear when you're diving, except for one kind of big miss, and that is on the bezel here, which is an interesting bezel, but it doesn't include a luminous or glow-in-the-dark pip anywhere. And normally you'd have one here at the top where you would move it around the watch face to a point where your minute hand would track against it as kind of a countdown timer so that you can watch and babysit how much air you have so you don't get stuck somewhere and suffocate to death. So that's kind of a big miss given that the fact that it has a screw down crown, it has a helium release valve here, which just kind of prevents the bends of watches. And particularly because it has such an incredible depth rating. So 1,500 meters is, I believe, what it's rated there, as it says on the back. For diving. So clearly you could wear this in pretty much any type of diving situation that a human would ever encounter, except for the lack of the glow-in-the-dark or superluminova pip there. The other thing is, if I were a diver, which I'm not, like the balls that I showed you, that would probably be a watch I would use because of the tritium glow-in-the-dark components there, that you can keep going down to depth. You don't have to be in sunlight. And they produce their own light. Most of these other watches that have lume only glow for a certain amount of time. Not a big deal, but and this watch in particular just looms like a Dickens after it's been exposed to light. So that's pretty cool. Each of these little applied markers on the hour, which is actually not on the every third hour, it's only on these other hours, glows in the dark. And then these larger markers here, and then the hands obviously have lume, and then there's a little lume on that second hand. The second hand is kind of cool because the tip is also painted in the same color as the inner bezel, so it's yellow there. It gives it a nice little contrast. You can see that moving around. Everything about this watch is sharp, and it's per what you would expect from a Breitling. The applied numbers, the Arabic numbers are on there. I have seen some reviews where people have complained that this dial looks a little busy, and it does, but that is the reason I got this. So, and that's why I sacrificed on size. So if you look at the Breitling Superoceans in the 44 and the 46 millimeter, they get rid of the Arabic numerals inside the face in a lot of ways, and on the 46 in particular, they just have hash marks. To me, it's like you go bigger, you get more real estate, but then if you don't fill it up with something, the watch just tends to look a little old-fashioned and a little empty. So I like the fact that they had these numbers in here. They're kind of italicized or angled, so they kind of evoke the idea of speed. I really dug it. I don't mind the fact that the face gets a little crowded. I like that they put a lot in there. This this bezel here gets a lot of note from a lot of people because it is metal. The markers are metal, the numbers are metal. It's got a nice coin edge to it, but this the bezel here, where it's normally plated or painted on some divers watches, it's a vulcanized rubber, so it's a very tough rubber. I assume they must melt it into this in some way and then kind of grind it down to get such a flat finish, because it's certainly not like it's, I don't know, maybe it's cut with some sort of laser and then pressed in there, but it just seems like too good, too perfect of a fit to be to just rely on a precision cutting machine. The dial is the crystal is sapphire. Obviously, it's curved. It's probably double curved because there's very little distortion. It's AR coated, which you can see, and I'm sorry for the that I've got my fingers all over it. But it's a really easy watch to read, and I love it, and it fits on the wrist quite nicely. And as you know, Breitlings, as many people say, you know, it's a lot of rounded edges. You can see that the back plate there is kind of domed itself. You know, the finish is very polished, and each of these edges is polished a little bit, so it just feels nice in the hand. It feels great on the wrist. I'm going to throw it on the wrist here in a minute, but you know, the rubber band here is pretty standard Breitling rubber band, but this clasp actually deserves a review in and of itself. So it's a deployment clasp, and it's pretty bulky. It's not like it's very much it's kind of the single deployment clasp here, but everything about this is the fit and finish is just great. It's got dual pushers here, and when it's closed, it's almost like its own piece of jewelry, like a little you know, jewelry case or box. It's great. It's got a nice solid feel, and it has a little fine adjust here on the back. So the way you adjust this to your wrist is, you can see some of these lines. You'd really have to cut this band if there were really too much rubber, or if it's too little, you're kind of in trouble. And then it has this little pusher for the fine adjustment here that you would push in and slide forward and backwards to give yourself a really fine adjustment. It works incredibly well. It says push on there. It might be a little hard to see because I'm covering it up. But it's actually really nice because it's super easy to use. If you've had a stainless steel bracelet or something like that, you know, you can have a fine adjust in here, but it usually takes you a pin to kind of push it in and to move it up and down. Sometimes you could also theoretically use this as a diver's extension to give you a little more room to fit over a wetsuit. So, and like, you know, on the stainless steel bracelets where you've got that extra diver's release, you know, it is kind of what it is, and you wouldn't really use it for fine adjustment. But because this has so many notches in between that you can use, that's a really super nice thing. Breitling is engraved or embossed in here, and then you've got the raised logo on the top piece of the clasp. Like I said, the particular is really great. It deserves kind of the kudos that it gets. You know, no exhibition window on the back, which is a little bit too bad because this is really a fantastic movement. It's an ETA 2824. It's a hacking and a quick date set feature here. So I'll go ahead and unscrew the screw down crown. You can, once it pops out to release here, you could certainly wind up the movement a little more, pull it out here once, and you can quickly set the date, pull it out again, and now you can set the time. So very easy. There's obviously not a lot of you know, there's no subdials, there's no complications here, just an easy movement to use. And you can see the hacking seconds feature there is the seconds hand just sitting there. Push it back in, screw it in, and you're good to go. The crown, while not large because the watch itself isn't huge, is a little bit on the small side for the chubby fingered set like me, but I don't have any problems getting my fingers on it. So You know, like I said, this is it's a cool watch. It was good looking enough for me to pull the trigger on it, despite it kind of missing one of my 4 rules. The other thing I would say about this is that if you're a collector, this watch is also available in a limited edition, 1 of 2,000 pieces. You can tell those because they are they are colored. So I think there's a blue. I know there's a blue. Obviously, there's a yellow, and I think there's a red is the other, and there might even be a black. But just an overall great watch. I would put this right up there with, you know, the Rolex Submariners and a lot of other high-end divers watches. You can certainly beat this around. You know, it will show some wear as you rub on the rubber on the band and the vulcanized rubber on the bezel, you know, but you know, this watch is really meant to and designed and rated to take a beating. It's COSC certified, so as a chronometer, so you know this movement is going to be accurate, and you know, it's just a great watch to have around. And obviously Breitlings are you know, a phenomenal brand, so it's really a personal preference. But check it out, the Breitling Superocean 2, the Abyss black dial on it. This is the 42 millimeter, but we'll see if we can get our hands on some of the other sizes on the Breitlings as well. Peter von Panda out.